Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to question and answers about landing pages and that kind of stuff. Today in our sort of studio, that's not actually a studio, we have Janine because, well, today it's from my apartment, or at least the one that I'm currently borrowing, because of COVID measures. And we have Janine from Intuition Awakening here. Hi, Janine.
Hello.
Can you tell something about your business?
Yes, I am a Reiki master located in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, and my specialty is specifically on mental health and trauma treatment.
All right, great. So for the past couple of weeks, we have been working on quite some stuff regarding your website, your landing pages, your digital strategy. And when we started out in our first conversation, we decided, okay, we want to kind of make like this value ladder. We want to give people a little boat and make them slightly go off the waterfall in, gradually instead of having them take a big plunge, because people are less likely to do that.
Mhm.
And the way we went about that was by creating this landing page for free anxiety meditation that you made. And now the next step in that waterfall, the next little bump, the next little threshold is going to be the the course that comes with that. So the anxiety relief course, which is going to be priced at a certain price point. I think you'll tell me that.
Mhm.
And in addition to that, we'll have some time for questions, answers, and all of that fun stuff. This is going to be a laid back, relaxed session because, well, that's just the way it is going to be today.
We've done all the major steps, and like you said, it's introducing customers to something free and then maybe something that's a small little sale and getting them further and further along my programs and offerings. So it will be very nice to do this next step.
Absolutely. So, first of all, let me show everyone that has not seen your landing page yet what it now looks like. If I can actually visit your website here and go to the browser. This is WordPress, and this is the page itself that is now loading. So it says calm and connected in 10 minutes and shift the nervous system from fight and flight to healing with this free 10-minute anxiety relief. So this is what we did last time. Now, before we got started, you had a couple of questions about the page. First of all, whether you could be an admin. Well, the answer to that is, of course, yes. And then, in addition to that, we are going to answer some other questions. And can you tell the people that might be watching or might not be what your other questions are?
Yeah, for sure. As we've gone through this process of building landing pages, this was all new to me. And now that we've kind of gone through the first creation of a landing page and creating a first little offering, I've had a lot of ideas about other offerings. So I'd like to create more landing pages and learn how to do that on my own. Now that we've got the basic template down, I hope I can use probably the same site or the same program, or maybe what free programs exist out there, so that I can continue sending customers to a landing page instead of my website, because I
Yeah,
can't have 10 different offerings as different buttons on my website. It just looks clunky. They're hard to create on Wix compared to this program. So yeah, that's the next step, is making sure that this first landing page works well, creating kind of the second part to this landing page that says, hey, I have more to this anxiety series. You can download the second, third, and fourth meditation for $5, and
absolutely.
then creating a completely different landing page about the next topic, which I think is going to be offering kind of a 3-day course or a 3-part course about how to do angel card readings and how to connect with your spirit guides. And I have so many different ideas for landing pages. So getting these first couple of steps down will help me create more and more and more.
Absolutely. So that's great. Currently, this landing page works as follows. So people can just click download the meditation, they will fill in their name, their email address. I hope this is actually a real email address. I think it is. And then they will be redirected to this page which says, oh, you're almost there. And then I would have to go to my mailbox to confirm it, and then I could download it. And I'll just go to thank you to this page because that's easier for now. This is the download page. We've now given away, by the way, your biggest secret, where people can download it without signing up. But, you know, go ahead, I guess. That's a nice way to get introduced to your services anyway.
Exactly.
So it does actually now link to your website. And people can download the meditation. So first of all, what your current landing page is built on is WordPress combined with Elementor. And Elementor is a page builder. There's a free version. This one uses the pro version. And you can just continue using that because I've already set up the entire thing for you. And that's our little gift to you, so to say, for helping out with these live streams and all of that stuff. So you can just continue building with that. And I'll just show you how it works. If I say edit with Elementor here, then...
I currently can't... There we go. Now I can see your screen. Perfect.
I just realized that as well. It's like, maybe it's a good idea to share my screen here if I want anyone to see what I'm doing. This is a one-man show, guys. I'm like Bert from Mary Poppins trying to do the entire drumming kit by myself.
Doing fantastic.
All right. I see that this thing has a little bit of trouble loading.
I'm
going to ask you to stop streaming your video for a little bit so we can see whether that makes a difference. I think it does because it immediately continued. So let's try that again. I'm just going to reload the page just to be sure. This is always the risk. Technical difficulties. All right. So Elementor is basically a drag and drop system. And you can get you can create quite complicated landing pages with Elementor. But the workflow itself is actually quite simple. So I think that, yes, I would like to wait, actually. I think that the best thing to do is first take a look at the basics of Elementor. And then you would have an idea of how to build a landing page. I'm actually also going to save the landing page that we built as a template, so you can reuse that one for your other services. Because, in fact, what is actually the case with landing pages in general is that they usually follow the same structure. And we've talked about this in our copywriting live stream. There we go. It took a while, but we got there. We talked about this in a copywriting live stream, is that it always starts with an attention grabber, something that makes people curious. Then we start building the interest. We start to connect with people and show them in what way we are relatable, but also make them connect to the problem that we're trying to solve, make them more aware of it. And hence we're raising the interest of that person. And then we'll move on to creating some desire by showing off your product. This is the part where you flex your virtual muscles, of course. And then finally, the action part, which is just download the meditation. And when we scroll through here, that's exactly what this is. So this is Elementor. And I'm going to save this one as a template, so you can just reuse it.
Yeah, I thought that was a great idea as well, that when customers come to your page, it's similar. They know it's your page. They know they've come to the right spot. There's immediately that comfort and familiarity with the colors and your brand. And we've spent so much time building all that on the site that I think it'll work really well in the future as a template.
Absolutely. And you want to be as consistent as possible with these kind of things. So that's also something we can quickly analyze here. For example, the style of the images. They're all really bright. and they have very few colors. So it's a lot of white, and then some colors that match the color palette that we discussed on having for this landing page, for your business in general, for your brand.
Yeah, I've started using it over on Instagram, and I've updated my logo now to the one we've created. I've yeah, I enjoyed when we talked about the colors and how the softness of the different lines and, rounding the buttons even makes a difference, compared to something square or more rigid. So I've really taken that across to many different pages on my website too.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. That's already great progress. And the more consistent you can be with these kind of things, the more recognizable you become on the internet.
Yeah. And I think of that too when I find a website that I like or that I'm Googling and searching for. You're right. I do. I recognize even the fonts. You go, oh, this is the right page. There's that comfort in knowing you've reached the right landing page, you've reached the right person's content. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
Just basic, text and fonts. And it's amazing how much of a psychological impact that has when you're doing a search for something.
absolutely. It is indeed fascinating, and I love going in depth about how these kind of things make us feel differently about brands, about products, about services. And once you kind of get an idea of how that works, you can also see it back in every landing page that you visit, in every brand that you see on the shelves in your local supermarket, because these are things that they are all busy with, so to say. They're all looking into, okay, how can we make our product more appealing to our demographic? Because Monster Energy, it really doesn't relate well with yoga moms, but that's only logical because that's not their target audience. But it does really relate to edgy emo kids in high school.
Yep.
who
They've
just
got the
happen
branding
who
right.
just happen to buy a lot of that stuff.
Yep. They've gotten the branding right for that.
Exactly. So knowing who your customer is, that's the first step of building a great brand and building a great landing page. And this is no exception. That's why we use the value communication canvas that you can continue to use with every landing page. And I would advise you to do so, even though it really seems like a hassle to fill it out. It will make your life a lot easier, because otherwise you're going to run into things like, okay, how am I going to phrase this? What is the goal of this page again? Having everything clear is really helpful, and it will, you basically speed things up by slowing down.
Yeah, it's amazing how, what is that saying? An ounce of prevention can be worth more than, the cure, or, that taking that extra bit of time can prevent so many problems, even though
Yeah.
it seems inconvenient, or it seems like, well, we did this for the last page, but say I want to make a series of meditations for depression. That's going to be different and target someone different than anxiety because they're experiencing different symptoms. And I have to be aware of that. I have to
Exactly.
understand what they're going through in order to communicate why this is going to be beneficial. So they might be they're going to download a free meditation, they're going to follow the same steps, but the content's different. So I think that'll be helpful.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, what is especially the case with this kind of thing is that because you are now creating a landing page for the same target audience, you can actually reuse part of the value communication canvas that talks about who your customer persona is, what their needs are, what their wants are, because that still is the same. So if you are having a certain demographic, save that little spot there, and then just change the features and the benefits and the experience that they might have because of those for every product or service. And this is actually also a really good way to brainstorm new products, because you can consistently look, okay, well, what do these people actually need? How can I solve this need? Or how can I address this fear? So it's a good way to brainstorm new products as well.
For sure. Which is, even through this process, I know having built this landing page, having understood it, when I started to do live events recently, I
Mhm.
started to think of, yeah, what comes after the live event? Because
Yeah,
that's typically what we've been doing with this page as well. What comes after that initial first meeting with your customer? What do we want them to do next? So
yeah,
I'd love to build another landing page for kind of a course that's going to go along with some of these live events that I'm doing. So it's already got me creating new products that I hadn't thought about even a month ago. So it's definitely helping keep my business and that imagination alive to go, what else could I be providing to people?
amazing. That's great. That's great to hear. And genuinely, I think that's mindset is really great, and also the way that you then say, okay, well, what's next? Because that's the important part with selling on the internet, is just having this constant interaction with your customers, and building their story together.
Yeah. And right now we're really focused on that because we are in COVID times. I can't go out and reach an audience of 80 people in a room anymore. I have to find them online. So
Yeah,
it's trying to create that constant engagement with people who are scrolling through their phones and scrolling through social media and Googling things at such a high rate right now because we're all stuck inside. How do I get in front of those people who are looking for relief, but we all have to find it in other sources right now. So yeah,
absolutely.
definitely a new
So,
world here.
are you ready for a crash course in Elementor?
Sure, let's go for it.
So, this is the WordPress dashboard. And once you want to create a new page, you can go to Pages, go to Add New, and then you can create a new page. Once you're there, you'll see something like this. The Edit page, which is a lot of page in one sentence, but that's how it's called. And then you see this button here, which says Edit with Elementor. And if it's not here, it's on the top. That
Okay.
might be the case if you haven't edited it yet. And when you go there, when you click that button, you will go here. And this is the Elementor environment. This is where you can actually build a landing page. Relatively easy. Now, the first thing I always do is make sure that the settings for the page are the way I want them to. So if you go to settings, which is this little wheel here at the bottom, you can say that you want to change the page layout. By default, it shows this big title with anxiety relief course, which is not really that relevant. So instead, I always put it on Elementor full width. And that removes the title of the page. And then I have to refresh it because otherwise it won't do that. But then we have a blank canvas to work with, while still having the header in place. So people will still see your logo, which is of course really nice. Okay, great. So the first thing you do every time that you want to create something new in Elementor, you say Add New Section. And when you do that, it asks you to select a structure. So, for example, if I click this, then we would have one column. And in one column, we can put, well, for example, a big image. Let's say we would like to do that. Just going to go like this. There we go. Then it would look something like that. But you might also say, okay, well, that's nice and all, but I want some text to the side. So then you create a new structure and you click this one. And then you have two columns. So you have one column where you can add. I have to add some padding because otherwise I can't do anything. But there's one column where you might want to add a heading. And there's one column where you want to add a image. So this is basically how that works. And this is a window here, the navigator, that's normally not there. But if you go right click and click navigator, then you can actually see this little window that helps you navigate, hence the name, through the entire thing. So you can see the columns and you can see the sections. You're still following along?
Yeah, cool.
All right, great.
Lots of options on this site. I'm just keeping notes
Definitely.
as I go too.
There's a good thing here is that you can actually watch this thing back.
Yes, this is true.
That's helpful, right?
For sure.
So that's how that works. Now, I'm just going to make one like this for now. So 2 columns, and then I'll get to what all of this is in a bit. But I'll start out with this part of the screen. When you first open Elementor, this is what you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all widgets. And the widgets, you can place them inside columns. So if you want to have multiple widgets right next to each other, you just have to add more columns. You can also add a column like this, add new column, if you decide that you want one extra, for example.
Oh, okay.
So let's say that I want to go from 2 to 3. You do that just like that.
Cool.
So I can say I want an icon here. I want a heading there. And then I would like an image here. Now, as you can see, whenever I add a widget, there are 3 things that I can immediately change. One is the content. So for example, I can choose an image. Let's say this one. One is the style. So I could make it really small. And one is for the techies among us. And that's where the complicated things are starting to appear. Now, you rarely need any of this. But there are some things that are more useful than others. And one thing that's really useful to understand is margin and padding. Margin is the space around something. So for example, if I add some margin here, you can see that there's a lot of space now created around the image. While padding, in the case of images, it is less obvious because it will still become smaller. I'll just change the background so you can see the difference. Padding does this. So imagine that this image or this column or whatever you might call it, the padding of that, if I increase the padding, I increase the spacing within an object. While if I do this, I increase the spacing around an object.
Oh, okay. Isn't that neat?
Now, this is a kind of a weird thing to understand maybe at first glance, but do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, and I remember we've used the padding and things to add some white space to the page, and
Yeah, exactly.
you can kind of just configure things visually a little bit better using those tools. Cool.
Exactly. So it is, you use padding more often than margin. But if you would say, for example, want to put 2 elements a little bit more apart, you can use margins for that. Because that's the amount of space that's around an element. So if that's 0, you can see there's no space around it. But if it's 30, for example, then you can see that the space around the red element increases. If I want to increase the space within the element, like that, then you can see that there's suddenly a whole lot more of red. So that's how we increase the white space around a certain object. Now, I'm just going to reset that because we don't need any of that anymore. But that's, in short, how you deal with that. Okay, now, it's the same for every other widget in Elementor. Every widget has content, style, and the advanced tab. And the content is always about the functionality, about, for example, what is the text, what is the image. And the style is always about, okay, how is this supposed to look? So for example, I can change the text color here. Or I can say, I want some funky typeface, like whatever this thing might be. Looks nice. Okay, great. That's the same for everything. All right, so that's pretty much the main things of Elementor.
Sounds good.
Now, then there are some other things that are useful to know. One thing that's useful to know is that this layout, style, and advanced, that goes for columns and sections. So I can either say here for a section, and a section is something a column is in. That sounds complicated, but it's basically like having a big box and having some smaller boxes inside of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
This is your refrigerator where you have the little drawers. So you have full width, and full width is the entire width of the page. Now you don't want to use that too often because it can get quite annoying if you have no white space on the sides. You have boxed, which creates this nice white space on the sides, like that. And then you can, the standard is about 1200 pixels. It depends on the site, but on your side it's about 1200 pixels. But you can decide, okay, I only want this section to be 800 pixels in width. And you can determine that by changing the content width. Great. Then you have the gap between the columns. Now, as you can see, we have 3 columns here. I can say that there's no gap, and they're now really close to each other, but I can also say I want a really wide gap. And then you can see that there's suddenly way more space between them. Mm-hmm. So this is the amount of space that's between every column. And this affects the padding. So this is like the automatic way to make sure that the alignment is a bit nicer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, then you have height. There's a couple of ways to go about that. You can say that it needs to fit to the size of the screen. And as you can see, this section, if I make a nice background for it, you can see it even better. And how you'll do that, I'll tell you in just a bit. But if you say fit the screen, it becomes the same size as the screen, as you would expect with that kind of tag. You have minimal height, then you can determine, okay, it needs to be at least this tall. It can be taller, but it needs to be at least this tall. And you can say, I want that in pixels, but you can also say, I want that as a percentage of the height of the screen. So I can say, for example, I want it to be about 50% of the height of the screen.
Oh, neat.
So VH, that stands for relative to screen height. And pixels, that's the amount of pixels, which is basically just, okay, how many pixels are displayed on the screen. That's how high it's going to be.
Cool.
Then we have the vertical align. Now I'm going to make this one fit the screen for now, so you can see it a bit better. You can see column position. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can say column position should be at the top. So then everything is at the top. You can say bottom, then everything is on the bottom, and middle. But you can also say stretch. And if you say stretch, the columns will become as tall as this section is, which is usually not the case. Usually the columns are only as tall as the widgets are that are inside them. Okay. So you can see here, the widgets are this height. When you say stretch, it becomes a lot taller.
Cool.
You can also change the vertical align. So I could say, for example, I want every element inside the columns to be aligned in the middle, or at the top, or at the bottom. But you can also say space between and space around. And to show what that means, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this one, so you can get an idea of what it does. If I say space between, then you can see that it displays more space between the top one and the bottom one. So it aligns one widget to the top and another one to the bottom. But you can also say space around. So then it makes sure that the space between every widget is exactly the same.
Cool.
And then space evenly, that's even more of that. Then everything is the exact same height between every element. We'll just leave it on default. Now you have overflow, which is something you rarely need. But basically, if something falls out of a widget, you can choose to either display it, or you can say, well, we're not going to display it. So let me see if I can demonstrate that real quick by making this one absolutely massive. And then say, I'm just going to cheat a little bit. So you'll see me do a bunch of confusing things right now. You can just not pay attention to that whatsoever.
Helps when you know how to type in code.
Yes, it does. Okay, great. And now I hope that this still will work because I used code. But no, it doesn't. That's too bad. But for example, if this would occur naturally within Elementor, you have overflow. And everything that falls now outside of this section is called overflow. When you press hidden, the bottom part of the star will disappear. Now, in this case, it doesn't work because I used a cheat code to show how this worked. But normally, if this would occur in a real life situation and you're like, why does this image pop out of my section? Then this is how you solve it, by putting it on hidden. But again, you are going to need that one very rarely. So I think you'll be just fine with this one.
Yeah.
Now, this is part structure. That's about the way that the columns are structured.
Oh, neat.
So I'm going to make this one a normal size again, because otherwise it gets kind of confusing. But you can also change that by changing the columns themselves. So if you go here to the column, you can see that you have layout options for that as well. And now I can choose, for example, the icon, that should be 50% of the page. And you can change the width of every column by doing that. You can also do that just like that, by dragging it around. And that might be the more intuitive way to do it, but it's less precise, so I prefer to do it with the numbers.
Neat.
Then you can also determine, again, vertical align per column. So I could say, okay, it's nice and stuff that all of these sections say that it should align to the top, but this one should align to the middle. And then you have horizontal align. I could say, for example, okay, this star shouldn't be in the center, it should be at the start, or it should be at the end. Now, I first have to change this one, because otherwise it's always going to be in the middle. That's just a widget. And then I can actually show you what it does. Horizontal align, now it's on end, so you have start, then it will do it at the start of the column. Center is center, and then end is end. And then you have space between, space around, and space evenly. Does the same thing as the vertical line, but then horizontally.
There's so many options in these layouts and things. It's really amazing how many little changes you can do to a site to make it what you want. That's really neat.
Absolutely. Then you have style. You can change the background and stuff. And I could say, for example, that I want this column to be white. And then only this column will be white. Now let's say that I don't want just the column to be white. I want the entire thing to be white. Then I have to reset this one, which you do with this reset button here. If you want to change the background color of an entire section, you go to Style, And then you have all these options for the background. Now, one thing to note that's really important is you have two different kind of backgrounds. You have background and background overlay. And I'll explain what background overlay does to begin with. But in principle, always use background, because otherwise you're going to get a headache. So make sure that you change the background in the background submenu and not in the background overlay submenu.
Just take the easy way.
Take the easy way, always. So here you can see it's white. Easy as that. So you have different background types. You have classic, gradient, video, and slideshow. I wouldn't use slideshow ever because it slows down your site enormously. Video sometimes, but only when you manage to have a video that's really small. Best is to use an image, which you can use in the classic background type or just a background color. You can also choose to use a gradient. Then it looks something like this. And that's just, well, what it says. It's basically lets one color flow into another one. And you can pick the colors you want here. But in principle, the easiest way to go about is just go to background, make sure it's on normal, make sure it's on classic, and then change the color to the color you desire, or upload a nice background image. So let's say, for example, this one. Now, if you upload an image, you see that there's a lot of options there as well. One thing that you must always keep into account is that it's always going to be either slightly too big or slightly too small. So the first thing that you want to make sure is that you put size on cover, unless you want to get really creative, but it's almost always best to just put it on cover. And then you can see that the software tries to make sure that the image is displayed as neatly inside the box we just created as possible. Now, what does background overlay do? If I go here and say, for example, I think this one is way too light, I want to make it a bit darker. I can add a dark background overlay, just like that, in order to make sure that my background image is a bit darker. And that's what background overlay is for.
Oh, okay. Neat.
So only use it if you need to put another layer on top of a background image or a video. And by the way, if you want to get rid of it, just click it another time. This is something that's not really clear, but you can get rid of something by just clicking it again.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, great. And then for advanced, same thing. You can have padding here, and I actually did that. I had some padding here at the top, so I could have the right amount of space above my column, so you can actually see what I'm creating, because otherwise the header is in front of it. I could also have some at the bottom, and you can see that the star moves up because that one is supposed to be in the center, and now I create a little bit more white space at the bottom. As you can see, you can't change the margins on the left or the right of a section, and that's because those are calculated automatically. It's the same principle for everything. So margin and padding works the same for everything. Okay. And pretty much I'm going to make sure that the typography and all of those global site settings, which sounds like a really complicated word, but basically just means that the colors and the type, that is all done almost automatically. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm going to set all of that before you get started building your landing pages. But this is basically how Elementor works. That's my crash course in Elementor right there.
Perfect. Very well done.
All right, great. So one final thing. If you want to add a template, you click here. And there's an entire library of pages that you can use. Now, as you can see, none of these fit your brand, but we have created a landing page template that actually does fit your brand. So if we go to My Templates and then insert landing page template and say, yes, I want to import the document settings, then it's going to import the landing page that we created previously for your anxiety relief meditation for this page.
Okay.
And that might take a while because I'm streaming as well. So it has some trouble trying to process everything. I'm patient, Firefox. I can wait. No worries. And that is basically how Elementor works. So you can get started in that. If you have any questions, you can always, of course, contact me. And also, you can just look back this live stream to get your crash course if you don't understand something and want answers quickly.
Perfect.
So as you can see, we now just imported the entire thing just like that. And you can change everything really easily. So you can say, hi, this is a new product, including a nice grammatical error, and then choose a hat because it's new, and then you have created something new. So that's how you change everything. Easy as that. Now, if you could turn your video on, we could talk for a bit, because I hope at least that I answered the question about your landing page precisely enough that you can do something with it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then the next thing is, do you have any other questions?
So I think I understand the idea of creating the page or editing it. So is there, I know on Wix is currently the site that I use, so I can edit my website, I can make changes, and then I press publish to make it kind of go live. Is there something similar on this WordPress site that kind of launches this, so that I could have a link that I could send to customers or clients to say,
it's a good thing. It's a good thing you mentioned this. And it's also a bit of a challenge, because I just realized that my face is now in front of the part that I have to explain. So I'm just going to go ahead. Can I move this? Can I move myself?
Perfect.
Am I being moved?
Yeah.
Wow. This is the future, guys. So do you see these little icons here?
Yes. Yeah.
You have settings. Settings, that's for the page settings. So it's for the title of the page. It's for the status of the page. You can say it's a draft, it's pending review, it's private, or it's published. And then you can choose the page layout, which we talked about before. Always put it on Elementor full width. That's the easiest and the best option.
Perfect.
Then you have the navigator. Well, the navigator, that's a way to turn on this little window here. That gives you more insight about your columns, about your sections. I always advise people to turn it on, because it gives you a little bit more overview than it does when you scroll through it here. Because if you look at this part, it gets quite confusing about the columns and that kind of stuff. But if you have this as a reference, you have at least something that shows you the structure of the site. Then you have this one. This is history. And history, just if you do something wrong, you can go to history and then restore it. Oh. So I could say, okay, well, I want to undo this. And you can see that if I go here, that it undid the changes that I just made.
Cool.
You can also just press Ctrl Z or Command Z on Mac, because it works the same as Word in that regard.
Okay, nice.
Then you have revisions. Now, the revisions are basically backups of the pages that you published before. So if I update it now, and then I'm like, this does not look quite as good as I expected it to be, then I can go to the revisions and then change it.
Nice.
Responsive mode. Responsive mode is nice, and it's a really important one as well. So good thing that you asked this question. Responsive mode lets you see your website in different screen sizes.
Nice.
And you can just go to things like the columns and all that kind of stuff. You can see that the padding here is different on the mobile side than it is on the desktop side. On the desktop side, it's 60. On the mobile side, it's 40. And you can just change it by going into these different modes, and you don't have to worry about messing up one of the sides, one of the versions. You can just change everything to make sure that it looks good on mobile as well. And this is a little example of what that then would look like.
Yeah, that's super important. Nice.
Then you have this one. This is preview changes. And if I press that button, then it's going to say, hey, this thing wants to open a pop-up window. And if I allow that, then it's going to show me an example of the website.
Very cool.
And then finally, I can say update or publish if you create a page for the first time.
Okay.
And then your changes will go live. So it will not go live until you press update.
Okay, nice. And where would I find the link to this page that I could send to a client?
Yeah, so once you have updated the page, you usually get a little pop-up with, hey, your changes are live.
Okay.
Check the page out.
Perfect.
And when you click that, it will actually go to this page, and you can just copy that link.
Perfect. Okay, so it's kind of similar to Wix then in that way. It says kind of the same thing. It says, congratulations, your site is now live. Click here to view the site. Perfect.
If that's not the case, you always have this bar if you're logged into WordPress. If you go here and then to dashboard, you can see here that there's a little section with pages.
Okay.
This section has all the pages on there and also has the option to add a new one. But then you can see, okay, let's say, for example, that I want the link of the check your email page. I can just press view and it will redirect me to that page and I can copy it just like that.
Okay, nice.
And those are all the buttons here that you need to, do things in Elementor.
Cool.
All right, cool. So, any other questions?
No, that answers a lot. I think now I know how it works. I know what we're using, which is Elementor in WordPress, how to edit pages and create pages, and where to find them and how to publish them when they're ready. So that gives me a lot to start with and to work with over the next few weeks as I publish courses and learn how to use it on my own. That'll be great.
Okay, great. So that's something, and we can take a look at things like integrating a payment system into your website as well. We can do that in future live streams. We can plan those because we have one for Sunday, I think, as well. So then we could do that, for example. And also, of course, we have worked with things like Mailchimp. And I heard that you had some questions about Mailchimp. Now, the landing page that we made actually integrates with Mailchimp, and it does that via Elementor. I actually already added the integration, so once that's done, you pretty much just have to fill in the data and then you're done. But Mailchimp itself can be already quite confusing on its own. So
as I found out. Yep.
Any questions about Mailchimp that we should take a look at right now?
Yeah, so what I did was I went ahead and created an account on Mailchimp, trying to build some templates to send out. So one of my ideas is to send out kind of an introduction email to local doctors' clinics and naturopathic healing centers and other clinics like that, say other Reiki practitioners or acupuncture clinics, just to let them know who I am, what I do, and maybe we can collaborate to help clients. So I have a full list. I have everybody's emails ready to go in an Excel document. I created this template on Mailchimp, and when I went to actually send it, I ran into all my problems.
All right. So
So I'm
what
not
problems
sure
did
I
you
did
run
well.
into?
I'm trying to remember back. This is about a week ago. When I tried to create the template in Mailchimp, I think I
Hmm.
called it. I think I used the campaign button or create a campaign.
Yeah.
So the email itself and the template looks wonderful. But when I went to add in my contacts, for some reason, it wouldn't let me send these emails. It, I think it had something to do with they weren't subscribers. I couldn't seem to figure out. Mailchimp has, subscribers or what, there's three different categories that they kind of call
Mm.
contacts. And it was just, it became confusing because these are people that I am sending an email to, um, unsolicited. Like they haven't contacted me, I haven't contacted them yet. They haven't subscribed to my site or like purchased a meditation. And it seemed, if I'm understanding Mailchimp correctly, that it didn't want to send an email to them because they weren't my subscribers or they weren't on the right list. So I wasn't sure if I just imported something incorrectly or all I want to do is
I
send an
mean,
email.
technically they did sign up for one of your events, or at least an event you were part of. So they are your subscribers. Um, but yeah, I can see how that might be an issue. Do you happen to have that list right now with you?
I could send it to you if I'll just stop my video here for a second and I can find it on my desktop.
All right, great. So here you have Mailchimp, and this is going to be a challenging one because I have to make sure that everyone's data is private, so I can't show too much of what's going on with the list. But we'll see if we are able to show as much of this process as possible without, you know, leaking anyone's personal data.
Perfect. And this is data all found on these websites. It's nobody's personal address. They're all business addresses, but I definitely this is
Yeah,
still something that we want
we're
to
going to make sure that it's all done the right way, so to say.
exactly. And I do kind of have these set up into different categories. So I'll only send you the first three,
Hmm.
just because I've got it so separated. Some are in Regina, some are out of the city, which I want to send a bit of a different email to.
Makes sense, yeah.
So what's the best way to do this? I will send this. Do. I'm going to send you these via WhatsApp.
All right, cool. I'll just open WhatsApp real quick on here. Just like that.
Okay, so there are three email addresses that I want to send an email to.
Okay, so these are three.
Yes, yeah, and they're all located in Regina here. So they were going to use my kind of local template saying, I'm also a local practitioner. If you'd like to meet in person or call me, here's my number, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And how did you receive these contacts?
These
Like,
ones, Mhm.
were they just sent to you like this as well?
No, I Googled them. I specifically did some research and found these business addresses
Okay.
and their contact info so that I could send it to the office administrator or to hopefully an office manager.
All right. Because it's not from the live event you did, right?
No, yeah, these ones are different. These ones are ones that I just found via these companies' websites, and I picked out companies that seemed similar to mine or were practices that I knew of in the city that I can maybe collaborate with.
All right. I'm not completely sure about whether that's legal here from a privacy standpoint. Might be different in Canada.
Okay.
um, I have no idea, so I can make any
Well,
any
typically,
claim on it. But
I think of it as just I
you
am.
would use them. You would use them to send an email to as well. So in that regard, it
Yeah.
is kind of similar. If you would just send them an email.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the thing.
but yeah, it is, of course, making them a subscriber is different from a legal perspective, I think.
Yeah, so I specifically added them on Mailchimp because there are only three options. It's subscriber, and
Mhm.
I forget what the other two are, but there wasn't a way just to say I want to send an email.
Mhm.
I didn't want to do it from Outlook just because I didn't have a template built through Outlook, which is what I use for my email,
Mhm.
my business email address. So I was trying to make a nice template to send these to. So I thought I'd try to get used to Mailchimp, but if that's not maybe possible through Mailchimp, because I don't want them to subscribe to a newsletter. I don't want them to subscribe or click my website. I just want that interaction. But I
Yeah.
wanted to make it on a nice template so that it could have my logo. I could pick purple colors to match what my business, so it looks professional. But maybe Mailchimp wasn't the right platform to send these emails out through. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
No, that totally makes sense actually, and I think that actually it is in this case better to just approach these businesses as well because it's three email addresses, so you can better just approach them via Outlook. And I understand you want to look more professional by having your branding there, but at the same time, actually one of the challenges with that is that people are less likely to open branded emails because it looks like spam.
Okay. I was thinking that it might be more beneficial, but if that's the way it is, then I can just send
Yeah.
then just text to them and give them my contact information just to say hello. But for someone who is a subscriber, I guess, is that where we start using MailChimp? I guess, what is the
Yeah.
purpose of MailChimp if I can't use it to send email, which I thought was the whole point?
No. It is the whole point, but it is Mailchimp is a service to send emails to an entire list of people so easily. So one email, and the software allows you to personalize those emails to everyone on that group, on that list,
Okay.
without having to do it manually. So I could say, for example, hello, first name, and then it will change first name into the first name of that person. And it's something that you see a lot with newsletters
Yeah.
because it makes it more personal, of course.
Mhm.
And as I said, even with newsletters, having a nice template, even though it makes your yeah, it has two sides to it. So one side is that, of course, it's more consistent in your branding, but the
Mhm.
other side is that it looks more like spam. And what I've noticed doing email marketing is that my emails get a lot more opens when I'm just using plain text. Like
Really? Wow.
I'm just sending an email like I would send an email to a friend of mine, so to say, and
Wow.
just have a little story there. And these are the kind of emails that people love reading most. When I think about the newsletters that I actually read, it's all done in this style. Just having black text on white, no branding, and just someone talking from their own experience and telling a little story, and then maybe having a link or a call to action at the end. But it makes it a lot more interesting than just having like all these screamy uh, design elements there. So
Okay.
that it seems kind of illogical
Yeah.
because it makes things look more unprofessional, but that's the reason why it works.
Hmm.
It's
That
because
seems kind of
people don't always want something that is professional, and having that personal touch can really be helpful um, in that sense.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder then what the functionality of an email list for me is going to be. I don't plan to send out newsletters just because I don't like receiving emails frequently. I never read them, I don't find value in them. And I personally hate the ones that have too much text because I'm never going to read it. I don't open an email wanting to read paragraphs. So I typically just spam those or junk them. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
completely opposite to what my audience might be doing. So I'm not sure how I could
Well,
use
actually, most people
email
don't
list.
really like to read that much either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's as I said, it's a little story, but actually keeping in touch with your audience and giving them little tips is something really valuable. And it's something that you're already doing. You're doing it on social media, with blog
Yeah.
posts. These are the kinds of things that you want to share with your email list as well, because it keeps them involved. And of course, people might be like, oh, what is this? I want to unsubscribe. I didn't sign up for this. I just wanted a free meditation. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
But those are the people that you're going to lose anyway.
Yeah.
But the bigger risk that you're going to take is that if you don't send an email, and this is a mistake that I've made plenty of times, is that every time that you then actually want to tell your audience something, you have to reintroduce yourself. It's really like, hey, remember me? And they're
Yeah.
like, no. So that's a shame, because if you have built that relationship, you can get so much more value out of your email list.
Yeah, I guess
If
like you
you
said, maybe this is another, instead of thinking of um black and white text, and like the first image I think of is paragraphs and trying to, make it enticing and like writing really well. Like you said, keep it short and simple, kind of like I would an Instagram post to say, join me for an upcoming meditation that will help you with anxiety. It's this date. Here's the button to like
Absolutely.
it. And people can leave
But
that
also,
or join.
also,
Mhm.
it's the same way as we did the landing page. So, like, you can first have a little attention grabber. That's something you put in the um, subject line, and then you go on building the interest, and you can say, "Oh yeah, this many years ago I was dealing with anxiety. This is how I got rid of it. Now I've got this free anxiety meditation, and you can download it here." Or you can have the scores here, for example, right?
Yeah.
So you have the same kind of build up, same kind of storytelling for your emails as well. Now it's very important that not only do you just keep pushing promotional emails, you also take this chance to give people actual value without trying to take anything from them. So you can just send them emails with just a little tip on how to reduce anxiety, or just an email that literally says, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
Or anything like that. Because the nice thing about email is that you have a direct personal line with someone that you don't have on social media. So the chances of people replying, if you actually build that relationship well, are a lot higher. And if you then reply back to them, they feel special, and there's a relationship being built there. And that makes people more likely to buy from you, but also to become a fan of you.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's that thinking of emails as another touch point,
Yeah,
another platform to reach out to people. And I've been learning about, yeah, I want one of my goals is to reach as many people with healing as I can.
yeah,
And I guess emails are kind of another way to look at that and think of it, of I would like to reach out. And even I'm starting some moon meditations, and I guess it's like you've said before, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm automatically thinking, oh, I have to create so much content and it's going to be so hard to come up with a new email every week. But maybe it is just reinforcing an Instagram post, or
yeah.
reinforcing, hey, I've just published a new YouTube video. And instead of sharing it on
Yeah,
Facebook, I can
but
also share it
but
on
you don't
Instagram.
want to. You don't want to. This is something you should try to prevent as much as possible. Don't link to anything in these posts. If you want to give people value, just give them the value. So, for example, if you have like a nice Instagram post
Mhm.
that has text and works like that, or you have a blog post and you can shorten it a little bit, just do that.
Okay.
Give them no, they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to click anything. There's no expectations of them. You're just like, here's a little bit of my best work, or so to say. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be your best work, but
Mhm.
it's a little nugget of value that you give them. Because if you give them enough of these nuggets, they're like, okay, well, I want to do something in return. Because that's how people are.
Okay.
Once
So
you
would
get
you,
once you gave away the first round in the bar, there's probably someone else who wants to
yeah, jump in
who
and
wants to treat you.
pay it forward. So would you suggest like is there kind of a formula to know how many emails you send out with value before you ask for something, or do you just send out value and people start wanting to return it? Do I have to lead them to a website eventually to say this is how you can return it, or this is how you can book a session? Um
There are
or
many
is it
ways to go. There's many ways to go about that. So you can actually have a little call to action, and I'm going to give a couple of examples.
Mhm.
One guy that does this really well is a Dutch entrepreneur here in the Netherlands, and he always has these little nuggets of value, and I love reading his emails because they're short and they're just fun, and they're sometimes great insights. And then often it is, of course, a build up to a launch, but he will send an email every week, even when he's not launching anything or pushing any product. But it will still say, greetings, and then his name, and then it will say PS. Also, have you seen this?
Mm.
And it will link to this YouTube video, or it will link to his LinkedIn, or it will link to his website offering a new product. So that's one way to go about it, because then you always have at least the option to get someone in from your audience.
Perfect.
I see that your cat is
No, he's
becoming a bigger
finally-
part of the live stream as well.
Yeah. This is Marbles, and he's just waking up for the day. There, hi, buddy.
So that's one way to go about it. There's another thing that I really liked is another guy, also an entrepreneur, but he's really into sales. And the funny thing is that his emails don't even have that, or at least some of it. And then I received 3 emails over, I think, 3 days from him, and he hooked me onto the first one. So he had this entire story about how Jeff Bezos, I think it was Jeff Bezos, used a competitive advantage to beat his competitors. And then he was like, well, if you want to know how he did that, well, wait for my next email tomorrow. So the following day, I saw his email. I was like, well, you got me, bro. So I opened that email as well. And then he's like, oh, yeah, by the way, here's this product I'm doing, and it teaches you exactly how to do that.
Okay.
That's also a way to go about it. So is there a formula for how much you can give away without asking for anything in return? No, but you're doing it anyway, so you might as well do it on email too.
Yeah, I guess I don't know why emails or email lists have always been such a foreign concept to me. I guess I really haven't yet found emails that I follow and that I enjoy and that I get value from.
Yeah.
So trying to find ways to.
But that's the thing, is that most emails don't.
No.
Most emails try to sell you something. So, and that's why I'm saying that if you don't do that, you're already sticking out from the noise.
Very true. It can be as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. So, yeah, of course, you can say, for example, go for 4 emails or 5 emails, but there's so many ways you can go about it. You can say, okay, I'm doing 6 anxiety relief tips, and after someone downloaded the meditation, and then you just send them every day, like one tip a day, and then at the end of that, you will do a little. Oh, by the way, I also have a course.
Yeah.
So, but you can also say, okay, I'm going to have this weekly newsletter where something I experienced and how I dealt with that is going to be the topic. That's also an option, or you can do both.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about Mailchimp is that Mailchimp is an autoresponder. And what that basically means is that you can say, okay, someone signed up. Now the next day, they're going to get an email with the first anxiety relief tip. And then the next day, they're going to get another email. And the following day, they're going to get another email. Now, probably you should, at the 4th email, make sure that you probably push your product then. Or the 3rd, maybe already, because you don't want to have like 6 of these emails right after each other. Maybe that's a bit too much. Give them some breathing space as well, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how you keep them interested, because actually the moment they signed up, that this is the first touch point. Now you need to hook them.
Yeah.
And the truth is that even though you gave them free meditation, they're going to forget you if you don't keep contact with them. That's just it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Like I can. if I would count all the people that I have downloaded something for free from, and that I can't remember, I would probably have a big number, but I don't know because I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yep. It would,
So,
like you said, that their emails typically ask for a sale. And I found this
mhm,
on Instagram as well, is the only time someone's reached out in the DMs to me is to say, I can offer you this. Do you want it? Sorry for bothering you. They're the weirdest messages.
yeah,
And I had a coach tell me to, yeah, reach out genuinely and heartfeltly, include their name, include that you like one of their posts, actually look at their posts, see what their page is about. And just about every email that or every direct message that I've sent via Instagram with that very specific information about someone has gotten a reply just to
yeah,
say, hello, thank you. That's so nice of you to think of me. So you're right. I guess if emails are done in this heartfelt way, which is what my business is about anyway, is
mhm,
giving this advice and giving resources to people and saying, hey, I've got this new really great post up about this topic.
yeah,
This is a little bit about what it is, and it's adding more value to people's day. It's giving them something enjoyable to look forward to. It doesn't just have to be spam and sales. So if I can kind of shift my mindset from I'm not going to do what other people do. We're creating this new relationship with people, and that involves getting to know them and keeping up the contact just like we were in person. I guess
yeah,
that's one way to kind of get you in the mindset of why am I doing this in the first place?
yeah.
Why is it beneficial to me too?
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that often, like, as soon as it goes digital, people kind of seem to forget that they're dealing with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
The easiest way to make sure that your marketing is effective is to make sure that you still remember that you're dealing with people. So treat them as people instead of numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that. If you would have a conversation and the only thing that he would be saying is, hey, buy this. Oh, buy this. Can you buy this? Hey, hello. I saw that you opened my message. People would be like, nope, block this guy. This guy's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no
But
connection there. That's right.
you build a connection by giving away value.
Yeah. So on Mailchimp, could you walk me through how the website works and what happens when someone subscribes, how we can create those kind of automated emails? One thing I
Yes.
found as well, at the bottom of the Mailchimp kind of templates, it's got
Hmm.
copyright and a bunch of jargon and kind of brackets and things that I didn't understand. And I
Hmm.
wasn't sure, did I have to fill in that information or is it automated through Mailchimp when it's sent with my company name? And I wasn't sure how all that worked.
Okay, makes sense. So yes, you have to fill in that information. And let me see where that is done. I'll go to the browser. There you go. So this is Intuition Awakening. Now, this is not the MailChimp that you have, probably,
Mhm.
but I set this one up for your landing page,
Okay, perfect.
and you can
Is
import your list as well. By the way, this is also a question that I would like to ask you while this is loading.
Yeah.
Um, you had this event a couple of days ago, and part of the event was that you would receive a mailing list from the people that were there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And how many people attended that event?
I think there were about 200 that attended, and I think about 85 or 86 people subscribed with their email to receive further updates after the event.
How many people?
About 85. I think I checked it this morning and it was 85.
85. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So you have a mailing list then of about 85 people.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that you could do is you could send them an email, probably with hey, let's say the person receiving this, her name is Anna, because we want to keep consistent in
Yep.
our marketing personas. Hey Anna, how are you doing? I had a great time at the what was the name of the event again?
The emotional heal-a-thon.
The Emotional Healathon. How did you experience it? Is there anything that I can still help you with. That's you could literally have that as a first message, and then in the subject line you can have, "Hey, do you remember me?" Because people are like, "Oh, wait, do I remember her?" They will click it for sure. But that's a nice way to get to that first contact,
Mhm.
and then from there you can say you can also introduce there already a little concept. Over the past couple of days, I'm going to give you some tips about how you can relieve some anxiety, for
Mhm.
example. And then
Yeah.
at the end of it, you can be like, okay, I created this course. So that's just one way of going about that, and you can see that there's a very natural flow, because then people recognize you, or maybe not, and they will be like, oh yeah, her, yeah, I remember her, and then there's a little interaction there already, and they might really respond to those emails as well. And then you have the opportunity to say, oh, hey, so great to hear from you, and actually send a personal email back. And I think that out of 85 people, probably not 85 people will respond. If they will all respond, you're doing very well.
I have created magic if that
you
happens.
have you've created magic if that happens, because then you can turn those people into fans pretty quickly. So that would be amazing.
But
Okay,
even if
and
4 or 5 people respond, like that's fairly typical. Even if 10% of people respond or donate or click through to the next step, that's more people that I've reached than I did yesterday. That someone
mhm,
new that I've reached. And I always think as well that even if they don't click on my service, if I'm in their lives, they're telling their family members, they're sharing
mhm.
that email, they're talking about Reiki and healing. And I saw this really cool tip. Maybe you could try it. And just the more that my name is in their mind or in their mouth, spreading that word of mouth, it's you can't do that in person anymore, but maybe you can be doing it through email or Instagram or those platforms where you can really connect with people. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And the threshold of replying to an email is a lot lower than it is to reply to an Instagram message or an Instagram post. Let's say Instagram post. Instagram message, if it's personalized, people will reply to that as well. But Instagram post, I don't know about that.
yeah, yeah, they'll see it and they'll scroll past it, but getting that
Exactly.
engagement,
Next.
yeah, there's so much content. There'd be no way you could engage and comment on every single post you see on Instagram but emails, especially if it's something personal and beneficial, yeah, it creates that interest. And hopefully that, like you said, it's that direct link. It's different than being on social media. That
Yeah,
email inbox is personal. So that's, yeah, it's good ways to look at it. It's helping my
yeah,
brain get comfortable with this concept.
for real. And to be honest, over the past couple of days, the things that have got me closest to buying something has all been email marketing,
Interesting.
because it's email marketing done well. One thing that got me to almost buy, and the reason why the reason why I haven't bought it is literally because it has been sold out.
Oh,
But it's from a copywriting course, and I was on the email list, and they just sent me 7 days worth of copywriting tips with nothing in return, no expectation whatsoever. And I thought, wow, this is really cool.
nice.
And then there was like, yeah, as soon as the doors for the copywriting cure open again, you can sign up. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to sign up. And it was like sold out. It was like, damn it. But that's what you want.
Yeah, now people are on a wait list. Now there's that scarcity, with what's available, and people are wanting to get it as quickly as they can. So it creates that interest too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you.
Good.
And then I'm going to put this one back.
Would it help if I turn my video off for streaming, or is this website doing okay?
Let's do it just to be sure.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, great. So if we scroll through here, you can see this is the audience part of the dashboard, of the Mailchimp dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get there by clicking, well, audience. Um, you have an inbox with all the messages that you received as a reply to your email campaigns. There's recent growth here. So there are 3 new contacts, which is great. And there's tags. And tags are great because you can use them to segment your audience. So for example, I can give the people who signed up for the meditation the tag free meditation. So you know that if you send them an email for an offer, that you sent them the right offer and not something they've already bought. If they have the tag, for example, with anxiety relief course, then you know that they have bought that, and you can automate that. Gets a little bit complicated, but we'll get more into that for another day, so to say. We might streamline that process a little bit. This is good because I'm going to watch this video back as well. I'm going to, get all of these topics out and make live streams out of them, because I'm realizing that might be helpful. Yeah. But so these tags are really helpful to segment, because then you can send an email with the individual one-on-one sessions, for example, to the people that have already bought the anxiety relief course. But you can send you can send an email pushing the anxiety relief course to the people who just signed up for the free meditation. But you don't want people that already have the anxiety relief course to get more promotional emails about the anxiety relief course.
Yeah. So
or even worse, that you offer a big discount that they haven't gotten. Oh man, they are in big trouble, because then you need to pay them all back, because they're going to complain for sure, right? You want to make your customers happy. So that's where these tags come in handy.
Okay. And so for the tags, those are only categories that I see, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have no idea what tag they have.
So kind of like if I was using an Excel spreadsheet, because that's something I'm super familiar with. We've got a whole list of emails, and then beside them, I could put A, B, C, D, for different categories, those different tags. This person came to me through the free meditation. This one came to me through the healathon, and then I can sort and filter them down to only send certain emails to the people from each of those groups. Okay. That's
absolutely.
I was confused about tags, so that helps.
That's the exact way it works. And that's even the way it's structured in Mailchimp itself. I wish I could show you, but then I would have to show the people that are on this email list, and that's not legal. So we're not going to do that. No. Then you have sign-up forms. And sign-up forms, that's where you change things like the email they receive when they sign up, like the confirmation email, for example. And I just have to wait for this one to load. Also, important to note here, I'm getting new to Mailchimp again because they changed their dashboard recently.
Right. Yeah, I think we chatted about that in one of our last sessions too, how it was a little bit different.
It's a little bit different, yes.
Because they now offer things like making landing pages and, having they've got a lot of different things on there.
Yeah, for sure. So you have here the sign-up form. Now, this is something that you don't necessarily need per se, because we did that with Elementor. But you could have, for example, the opt-in confirmation email. And you change that in the form builder.
Okay.
This is the form builder. And it says here, almost there. Hey, Janine from Intuition Awakening here. Could you confirm your email address so we know for sure it's you? We will send you the meditation download page right after. And then, yes, subscribe to the list. Thank you. I hope the meditation will be helpful. Have a beautiful day. And it's Janine.
Perfect.
So that's the opt-in confirmation email. And this is something you can change in the form builder.
Okay.
Now, you have also the option to make segments. So if I click create segment, and as you can see here, you have no saved segments. What I can do then is I can pretty much create a segment based on tags. So I could say, for example, okay, these people came from, for example, the free meditation landing page. Then they bought this, and now they're interested in this. That's a segment that I can create now. You can create certain criteria that they have to, that have to apply to them in order to filter out a certain group of people from your audience. So if you would open the Excel spreadsheet again, it would basically mean, okay, I want this and this and this, and you would filter in Excel for that.
Oh,
And then you would have just these people left.
okay. So you could set, I'm not sure how specific it is, but say that I wanted to send an anxiety meditation out specifically geared towards women who are mothers or something like that. Then I could filter out maybe, yeah, I'm not sure how specific you can get, but I could filter down the emails that I have.
It can get specific, but then it needs to be, you need to have that information in the tags. So you can filter on tags and things like, if I remember correctly, I can check right now because I'm afraid that I'll show something that I'm not allowed to show, right? Yeah. But it can filter on things like tags and probably where they signed up.
Yeah, I think location was, another one as well. You're right. Okay.
So if, for example, in the tag is, this person is a mom, then you could filter on that. But what is kind of nice is you could make a segment that says, for example, people that went to the Emotional Healathon that downloaded my free meditation. Okay. That could be a segment. Okay. While another segment could be people from that have signed up via a landing page via Instagram that have bought the anxiety relief meditation course.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, you can really filter it down using those tags too.
Yeah. Okay. So for every source, you want to create a new tag. And for every action that people do, there needs to be a tag as well. And if you want to make sure that you get the most out of that, it can get complicated, but that's what these live streams are for, to help you to create that. So we'll definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, I think would it be easiest to start with just really trying to, say like with the anxiety relief meditation, maybe only offering it through Instagram to start with, just to get familiar, just to get kind of used to this. I feel like I could have 100 tags, or if I have a list of 1,000 email subscribers, I can't be on top of these lists every day categorizing people, if that makes sense.
Absolutely not. And that's why you want to automate it as much as possible.
Yeah.
So, but for sure, right now, people that sign up on your landing page will always get the tag free meditation.
Okay.
So that's already been put in place. And if they're from Instagram, this was just an example, but let's be honest, it doesn't really matter where they come from.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's not that relevant. Mm-hmm. It's more important like the journey that they've made with you. So if they've already bought something, you don't want to send them that offer again.
Right. Yeah. Then you want
to, because that would be a little bit annoying.
Got the same email twice. Yeah. Unsubscribe. Let's not do that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the inbox. And the inbox is basically where you can have conversations with the people that reply to your emails.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Then you have campaigns. And if I go to campaigns, we'll just have to wait a little bit. This is always such a tense moment, right? So exciting.
The load button.
The loading button. Okay, create campaign. No campaigns yet. Okay, so you can say, I want an email. And I'm calling this campaign, hello there. I don't know. Begin. And this is a regular one. But you also have automated ones. And the automated ones, they are basically the ones that pretty much are things that just are put on repeat. So there's a certain action and then you get an autoresponder. So this is nice because then if someone subscribes to your list, you can have, for example, 52 weeks of content, if you build up to that, that you can send them also from previous weeks because they haven't seen it anyway.
Right.
So as soon as someone signs up, they'll get registered to this autoresponder that will send them an email that they haven't seen yet, and another one and another one. And you can do that for every subscriber. So they will get an email regardless of when they signed up. And that way you can plan ahead quite easily. Then you can have 15 weeks worth of emails quite easily, because you just write an email a week and then you can always use those.
Okay.
So that's nice.
Yeah. Trying to find easy ways to build content that's not going to take me hours and hours to try and send out to people each week. The point is to be automated and to have it
Make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Because most of this content is already there, for real. Blog posts, Facebook things, recycle everything, because the chances of people having seen all of it is very low.
Yeah, true.
I wish I had done that more. When I was more focused on DrawMate, which was like the art classes, the online art classes that we did. I think that if we just recycled all of the blog posts that I had, we would have way more interaction with our audience than we had in the end. Where it was just like, oh, by the way, we made something new. Do you want to take a look at it, maybe?
maybe, please.
do you still remember us? No? Okay. Yeah, I know it's been a year. Okay, all right. Okay, bye. Thank you for subscribing. Oh, you're unsubscribed. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, bye. We don't want that. We want them to love us.
That's better. So, from who is sending this campaign? Oh. Email address, info@Intuition Awakening. There we go. So, who is sending this campaign? Janine. There we go. Well, you need to verify that, but you get the point. And then you add a subject and a preview text. Do you know what a preview text is?
Yes, I really like their little hints and things on the side that kind of explain it. I looked through some of those, and it's nice to kind of get a visual of what it will look like before you send it.
Awesome. So, and then you have the classic builder, new builder. Ooh.
I've tried both.
Interesting.
And I don't know the difference.
I'm going to select this one just because I haven't seen it myself yet.
Yeah, the new builder.
Sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it seems to kind of, I don't know, there must be a lot more happening in the background with it, or it just it doesn't seem too crazy different than classic to me.
It's time to design your email. Okay, great. Can I go to templates? Bold. That's really nice. But as I said, I don't want any of this fancy stuff.
That was the thing too. If we're trying to stay away from things that look like spam, it's probably not the best idea to use that designer.
No. Okay, let me see. Basic, simple text. There we go. That's what we're looking for.
The least option that they give you. Yeah.
The least interesting option they have available.
Which seems counterintuitive, but I guess you're right. It's funny how with branding and marketing, you want things to be like, it feels like we've designed this beautiful landing page, and then an email, you just want text. No pictures, no colors. We're not doing any of that here. But if that's what works, I will believe it and I will roll with it.
Beautiful designs in no time.
That will go to your spam folder.
Not interested. Look, where you have... I'm just going to delete this as well, actually. Bye. Can I do that? Brilliant.
Yes.
Now, I will even remove this part.
Delete it all.
now we're getting somewhere. And then I can say, hey, and then here, this is the most important part. You have merge tags. So you have member data, so you have first name. And then how are you doing? Well, this is not a great example of copywriting, but I'm just going to sign with Rubber Duck. Save and close. And then you have here, you can preview it, so you can enter the preview mode, or you can send a test email. And that's always good to do before you send out a campaign. Send out a test email. Definitely something you would like to do.
Yeah.
So I could send it to myself, for example. And if I go to preview, enter preview mode, let's see if it already... Yeah, so then it says, hey, test first name. See? So this feels really natural, like someone just wrote it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's funny how those just little things and the psychology and what makes us most comfortable. But you're right, that feels like a friend or you're sending me an email just to say hello and how are you.
Yeah.
No sales, no gimmicks, no, click 75,000 emails. On here, is there somewhere to add, subscribe or unsubscribe to my newsletter, or do we include anything like that in a campaign?
I think that is supposed to be included for sure. If you set up Mailchimp well, and we'll get into that another time, I think, because I have to look it up myself as well.
Sure. This gets us started and introduces us to the site, and
yeah, exactly. Then that's how I do. We'll insert a footer in compliance with our terms of use.
Yeah.
So this is something that it will do automatically, so you need to fill that out. But yeah, that's basically the thing.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a lot of info for today. Yeah.
And then you just push send, and that's the end of it. Then you have sent the campaign. And then the last part of it, or at least this is like website, content studio. Yeah, that's all not that relevant. So start building. This is also something I love about Mailchimp, is that you have the opportunity to send postcards to people. I haven't tried it yet, but I really want to. Create a map of your contact's journey. Free meditation, for example. And then we'll do start building. And then we'll have a starting point. And then it says tag added. So if we have the tag free meditation, then we're going to send an email. And then, that. See what it's like to build a journey map. Okay, great. It looks like you have to, in order to completely make use of this, of course you have to upgrade again, because it's Mailchimp. But this is how you do the automations, in short.
Okay, so it's kind of like a workflow template then.
Yeah, exactly that. Okay. Exactly that.
So, well, that's nice. Yeah, at least it's a visual. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice, because it will give you an idea of what is going on in every step, and it will help you draw out your customer journey with email, but also what parts of the website have been visited by them, because you can integrate quite a lot of Mailchimp with other softwares. So in that sense, it's really helpful, I guess.
Yeah, that's nice. And is there a way on that account that you've created that I could become an admin on it, or should I try to duplicate this on my own account?
You can in fact become an admin on it. I think it's maybe even easier if I'll add myself as one of the admins, and I'll just give you this account because it's in your name anyway.
Perfect. All the things we do to create accounts for the live streams, and then it's like, wait, can I actually use this?
Yeah.
It's got my name.
Of course. So I'll just after we're done here, I'll add some. I'll send you all the login details necessary for you to get started. And that's basically it concerning Mailchimp. So we'll get more in depth about that another time, and then we can actually have a goal for one of the sessions. So I would need to think it out a little bit, like, okay, what do we want to include there, and what do we not want to include there? But we can get probably something quite interesting out of that. So that's nice, and at the same time, it will really help you to push your marketing to the next level, so to say.
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm learning to become more comfortable with, because as an entrepreneur right now, I'm doing it all. I have to be the one learning and doing the bookkeeping and learning and doing the marketing, and especially because this is going to be my full-time business in 2021. I need
Yeah.
to make a living with this. I have to push myself out of my comfort zone in order to learn all of these things. One day, somebody like you will do this for me, and I will hire you and be super duper grateful to let someone else take care of this. But for today, we're learning, and you're teaching me so that I can do this on my own for a while to get myself started so that the business is successful enough to pay somebody
Yeah.
to do all these things. That's the whole purpose.
Absolutely. And at the same time, it is really there's two things that you can say about that. Like the first part is that once you get like an idea of how all of this works, you know what to look for.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, because if people often when I have a conversation with people, they want something from me and then they'll get something else that they didn't really ask for, but that is actually what they needed after I've spoken with them for a while. Like, okay, well, I want a new website. Okay, but why?
True.
Yeah, this one doesn't work. Okay, but why not?
Yeah.
So then you get like you go to the entire journey with them. Like, what are they actually trying to achieve, and how can you achieve that in the easiest way?
Mhm.
So it's good that you already get an introduction to thinking that way for yourself, because that makes it really easy to make certain decisions about your marketing, and it gives you a nice compass to navigate through all the noise, because you know what kind of marketing is now possible, and it doesn't all have to be like screaming for attention. You can also do it in a way more fulfilling and value anyway, which is, in my opinion, a better long-term solution anyway, because the only reason why people will keep buying from you is because they're getting value out of it. And you can sell them something that isn't worth the money once, but after that, it's going to be difficult. So
Yeah.
if you reverse that and you give them more value than they paid for, then you get loyalty, I guess.
And that helps my business then with the long-term goals, which is to open a healing center and have people. The next steps are going to be really big asks of asking them to travel to my facility
Mm-hmm.
to spend a week, or to spend, a retreat, and to pay for hotels and accommodation. Like, there's going to be those big asks, and it helps now to be building all of that loyalty, that they've known me for a few years. By the time I get to opening my center up, I'll have been in their lives for a while, so that it's just a natural next step. So I'm not trying to promote something brand new. It's just another continuation of this value and the things that I offer. So it seems like a lot of work or a lot of things to learn, but really we can automate it. We can, once you get, like you said, once you get to know the why we're doing things, it makes so much sense, and it becomes so much easier that, oh, this is all we have to do to reach the right people and get our goals accomplished. But you have to ask yourself those questions, and that's something you've introduced me to a lot, is asking those questions of, why isn't it working? What do we need to change? Or do you know who your customer is? And going from there.
Yeah. And this is something I learned the other day from a guy's whose name I forgot. Sorry, guy. Um, but I learned it. It was taught to me indirectly, so that makes sense. I learned it from Chris Doe, and he learned it from someone else. But he said that you only need 1,000 true fans in order to create a six-figure business,
Wow.
and that makes sense, right? So if you have 1,000 real fans that are willing to travel 50 miles to see you speak, that are willing to buy any product you offer, to buy the audiobook of the book that you already published.
Mm.
If you have that community, then you're set, because you have a relationship with these people that is really valuable, and their excitement will probably keep other people interested as well. So that's how you can manage a business like that.
Yeah, that's really intriguing and interesting to know, because I always figured a six-figure income is what I'm shooting for, not only for myself, but to impact my community, to be able to make big charitable donations and to help out. I have so many volunteer organizations that I'm a part of and that I want to help, but I need to step up my healing practice and my entrepreneurship in order to give more back. I just need to have more to give. So it's helpful to think of about it like that, because with these big package programs that I want to offer in my big cells, I only need 5 people per month to be involved in these programs to really make the income that I want.
Yeah.
And that's doable. That's very doable at an affordable price for them, at an affordable amount of time for myself to have the lifestyle I want. So it's, yeah, learning to,
How do you get there?
how do you get there, and that you don't need to have 1 million subscribers and, have
It's helpful though.
yes, it is. More exposure is helpful, but I find on Instagram it's often I'll get people trying to sell me buy 1,000 followers. I don't really want to buy 1,000 followers, because chances are one person of that 1,000 actually knows what Reiki is. I want people to follow me because they're already seeking
Interested.
Reiki.
Yeah.
They know what meditations are. They want to heal. I don't want the people who are interested in their corporate day job and excelling in that field. I want the people who are healing and doing their self-work and recognizing their passions and going after what they want. So it's helpful to remember that you don't have to have a big audience in order to sell. You don't have to reach a milestone of followers before you can start making your impact and selling things and making a good income. So that's helpful to remember.
Absolutely. And then on a final note, of course, that's one thing that probably would be useful to do, is to write down all of the jobs you're doing right now, because you're doing quite a lot of them.
Yep.
Because you're the marketing manager, and you're the social media manager, and you're the CEO and the CFO, and write down all the jobs you're doing and just find the number or the amount of money that it takes to replace that role. So for example, how much would it cost to hire the marketing manager? How much would it cost to hire a financial advisor? So you can take that into account when creating a vision for your business, but also it gives you a realistic view on how much money you are going to need to just do what you want to do in business. Like, what is the role that you most want to do? Maybe you need someone to run the operations of the business entirely in order to get there. And how much would that cost? So those are things that are incredibly interesting to find out, because that will give you a nice view on how to get to the position that you ultimately want to get into in your own business, but also the position you will create the most value in.
Yeah, that's a great.
Also something I have to do myself, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. You were doing a lot of work and providing a lot of service and value to a lot of people, and and you're the tech guy. You are you're your own manager, your own human resources officer. I know that's something that I think when I was thinking of my money goals and my monetary goals, my gut instinct kept saying, you're going to need more than that, like earn more than that. And I always thought, well, I don't need to earn $1 million. That seems weird. But you're right. That's where that instinct is coming from of, I'm not going to be doing this personally for the rest of my business lifetime, the business's life. I have to hire people. I have to afford someone's wage. I have to afford building upkeeps or paying to renovate my home and my space to have, making my space into a venue for meditations in the summertime. And there's those last costs I haven't thought about yet. What am I doing, and how much am I going to have to pay someone else to do it? I thought of bookkeeping, but you're right. I'm not always just going to need a bookkeeper. What if I start making, which I'm going to, putting that out there in the universe. What if I make millions of dollars? What if I make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year? I can't just have a basic bookkeeper keeping track of all of that. I'm probably going to need an account manager.
That guy's gonna need some recovery.
Yeah, the poor person.
Yeah, he's gonna need your meditations to recover from his burnout.
The poor person that I'm paying $15 an hour to keep up with all the stuff. That's not going to fly. So you're right. That's a good idea to sit down and think that through.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
also for myself, by the way, maybe we should make that into a live stream as well.
You should do that. And especially because I come from HR, I set payroll, I've worked in payroll, I've set wages. I know easily how to find comparable wage data. So I can help you out with this one.
Perfect. Then we are creating something useful for both of us
Exactly.
in the same. Wow, that's great.
Co-create.
All right.
Look at this.
Awesome. Exactly. That's the entire point, right? Learn from each other here.
Exactly.
Okay. I think that this is probably it for this live stream today. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think, yeah, probably between now and Sunday, I can go through Mailchimp and WordPress, try maybe creating a landing page on my own, show you what it looks like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I also would like to try importing my email list to Mailchimp and creating a campaign and hopefully sending it, because it's the New Year's and I think I'm already doing so much with New Year intentions. The Emotional Heal-a-thon was talking about intention setting. So that seems like a really good segue for my first email campaign with that audience is already
Emotional healing ton.
Yeah.
5 steps to set your intentions for the new year.
Exactly. And I can send that out this week or in the next week, having it be
Perfect.
timely.
Great idea. Yeah.
An easy start.
Okay. After this thing is done, let's see if we can fix that real quickly.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's going to be that hard, but I'm not allowed to show it here because privacy and stuff.
Okay. We'll do that after.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to cut to our beautiful ending screen here. And I would like to thank you for being here. And I'll speak to you about 4 seconds after this is done.
Sounds good.